Welcome to Denver Theory Lab.
Denver Theory Lab? Okay.
Denver Theory Lab. Let's do it.
Welcome to Denver Theory Lab. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Kyle.
Where we aim to investigate and explore theoretical and practical ideas, conspiracies, events, and practices from an objective point of view to expand our range of thinking. You can make donations at Denver Theory Lab on PayPal at Denver Theory Lab. You can contact us on Facebook, Instagram, or email us at denvertheorylab@gmail.com. Please send us any questions, comments, or topic suggestions.
All right. Once again, what a week it's been.
Oh my God. Wasn't it the end of the world this week?
That's that. There were lots of calls for that. About half of TikTok was rapture talk this week.
Fashioned end of the world.
Yeah, but it's funny enough. It happens every year around this time of year of these end of the world fears, and it's all centered around 9/23, which we've.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy that there's that much that's centered around
9/23.
Is it the equinox, or specifically?
So 9/23 is
it always the equinox? 9/23.
I think so. Let's check.
So, right?
It was the equinox this year. So let's see. Is September 23rd always the equinox?
No,
It's not always, but it's between the 21st and 24th. So always around that period.
Yeah. Pretty much days.
Yeah. So and there's all these movies and everything that has all these references with 9/22 or 9/23 being the day when something cataclysmic happens. You got, everything from Evan Almighty when the flood happens on 9/22 to This Is the End when the rapture happens on 9/23, and the list goes on of movies, which does make you wonder why do so many movies have it in there.
Yeah, let me read through that. That was quite an impressive list. So 9/23 Predictive Programming, you wrote. Third rock from the sun, meteor hits in September. Big Bang Theory, asteroid strikes on 9/23. Seeking a friend for the end of the world, asteroid strikes 9/23. Deep Impact, asteroid strikes 9/22. Evan Almighty, date of the flood is 9/22.
Midday.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Knowing movie, Earth destroyed by solar flare on 9/22 and 9/23. Little Shop of Horrors, which I thought was really interesting. 9/23, when humanity encounters deadly threat. Tomorrowland, I do remember. Disaster strikes on 9/23. Great movie, by the way. Number 23, the movie. 9/23, when hell arrives. Sleepy Hollow Show, 9/23, when New Dimension opens. Ghostbusters, Evil is released on 9/23.
So that's when the ghosts terrorized the city.
Which version of the movie was that?
I want to say the original one where they're all over downtown New York. The ghosts are coming out of
when they released them from the Ghostbusters holding tank?
Let's see. Which?
Because I feel like it was in multiple movies. Because I think the Frozen Empire as well was 9/23. Because it would make sense for their universe to focus on 9/23 as well.
The Pied Piper of Manhattan. Okay, so it was the one where that's the guy in the painting, right? I believe the Pied Piper of Manhattan.
No, that was Vigo.
Okay,
Vigo the Destroyer.
Vigo is the
that was number
painting.
2. Yeah.
So the Pied Piper of Manhattan featured ghosts terrorizing New York City on September 23rd, 1997. Well, that's saying something different. That's telling us about an episode of the show. But interestingly enough, they released it on that day.
On 9/23. Okay, so ChatGPT says 9/23 was the Pied Piper. Unleashes an infestation of lesser ghosts and spiritual emanations. That's fine.
Okay.
Moving on. This is the end, 9/23, when the rapture happens. Pandemic, East Coast hit with Pandemic on 9/23. That was a movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I never saw that one. Labyrinth, the movie. Evil Consumes the World on 9/23. Lost, the TV show. Plane crashes on 9/22. Castaway. Driver's license of dead pilot shows 9/23 birth date. Taco Bell commercial shows mime escaping concentration camp on 9/23. I don't remember that.
Let's see.
That is intriguing, though. It sounds very risque.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be as popular today. While I look that one up, we can go down the list here.
That'll be exciting to watch later. Guinness beer commercial. If you keep an open mind, you'll discover dark secrets. Screen shows a ticking watch that stops on 9/23. Asteroid City. Asteroid hits on 9/23. Green Day. Wake Me Up When September Ends. Good song. September When It Comes song by Johnny Cash. I'm sure there's more, but that's what you have compiled, and I thought it was really interesting to see that there's such an abundance of correlation there.
Of just a whole lot of shows of them throwing it in into their commercials, movies, shows, and maybe it's to do with the equinox. The fact that the equinox is right around that time period.
Well, isn't it some other culture's New Year?
It is the beginning of the Jewish New Year.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And this year, the talk all over TikTok was all centering around, I don't know if you've heard anything about it, but the red heifer, the sacrifice of the red heifer and the building of the third temple in Jerusalem. There's a whole lot of these people who believe in this Christian dispensationalism believe that when the third temple is built, only then will Jesus return, but the Jewish people believe their Messiah will return. And can the events of the book of Revelation start taking place? Can the final battle between good and evil happen? And they are trying to speed up the process. They want that to happen sooner, and they would say because they want Jesus to come back. But I think it's kind of psycho to want to hasten the end of the world. But they've got this whole big ritual where they have to have a perfect red heifer with no blemish, no scars. That's
red heifer. Mm-hmm. Is that meaning woman or cow?
A cow.
A cow. Okay.
not a perfect redhead. And they've got to get this perfect red heifer. It's got to be, no blemish, no scars, and entirely red, not a different hair on his, not a hair colored differently on his body. And then they're going to sacrifice it and grind up its blood to bless the new temple. They can't build the new temple until they have their magic red heifer blood.
And they do this every year?
No, they've apparently...
Or they've got red heifers lined up for this?
Yeah, they've got lots of candidates for cows to be the red heifer. And supposedly all the genetic modification we can do with current science is speeding up the process of them getting their perfect red heifer. And
they don't have a perfect red heifer yet?
They don't. Apparently, there hasn't been one in over 2,000 years. They haven't had a perfect red heifer.
A looming omen, I guess.
Yeah. Now they have several
finally
candidates.
Get a red heifer.
Well, they supposedly have several candidates, but there's a lot of people over there who don't want them to be able to complete this ceremony, because if they complete the ceremony, it means they intend to build a temple and tear down the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is a holy site for Islam. So very, very contentious thing. But yeah, all of TikTok was thinking that they were going to sacrifice the red heifer and the rapture would begin and it would all be over on Tuesday. But we're still here, to record.
Just so another Tuesday.
Maybe it's 9/23 next year. Keep your disaster supplies ready for 9/23.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people sold all their stock and assets and quit jobs and stuff. And
you should have sent one of them my way. I'd like a new car.
Right? But it didn't make any sense to me, because if the world's coming to an end, none of that's going to matter. Money's not going to matter anyways.
Right.
Right. Like if you don't already have all your supplies stockpiled.
And what is selling the things going to do for you if everything's coming to an end? what's having some dollars going to do for you in the end? I don't think it's going to do much. But we get so all that end of the world fear, and with some of the news this week. Thankfully, this news has come after 9/23. But with some of the news this week, it's at least World War III very much could be on the horizon.
Yeah, that's kind of
disappointing.
disparaging.
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, I'm somebody who was somewhat of a fan, or somewhat hopeful, I should say, of the president before he went into office and his anti-war rhetoric. But none of that seems to matter anymore. This week, actually, just yesterday, the U.S. just conducted a 7,500 mile thermonuclear weapon test off the coast of Florida.
That's not a test. They have tested every nuclear bomb any possible which way they could already, even deployment systems.
So more of a display, you think?
Yeah, it's absolutely a display. There's no reason for them to test
I agree with you.
Any weapon of that magnitude ever again.
Yeah. Well, supposedly they say they're testing their new system. They've got this new delivery system where they're shooting the missiles out of the submarine, and what shoots out of the submarine carries multiple warheads. So, displaying their destructive capabilities in what is clearly a saber-rattling display. And the more interesting and something to watch, in an unprecedented move, the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, has ordered nearly all of the U.S. military's generals, admirals, all the top brass. They're all going to be meeting at a Marine Corps base in Virginia next week, which makes me feel uneasy. And it doesn't seem smart to me to gather all the brass in one location.
I have a tendency to refer back to movie plots, mostly because I feel like a lot of that's drip-fed information to us, and it's a good way to play out scenarios in your brain. But like the reboot of Star Trek, second one, the Return of Khan or whatever it was called, something major happens, and then by protocol, they're all supposed to gather and form a committee, which makes the perfect striking point for this villain. Which, it doesn't seem like a very smart idea to gather all of your department heads and put them in one space,
one location. Well, there's a show, I think it was on Fox, either Fox or NBC, called Designated Survivor. That pretty much has the same plot. It's terrorists strike the U.S. Capitol building while the State of the Union is happening. So you've got everybody in one location, and then because of that, the head of the EPA has to take over as president of the country. But it's the same plot of everybody's gathered in one spot, and they strike then.
Maybe that's why they're trying to get rid of the EPA.
Can't have them take over.
They've done plenty of consolidation, I can attest to. I won't talk anymore about that.
Well, I think they're consolidating lots and lots of the government. Also, currently, just kind of going hand in hand with the Pentagon brass meeting, we've got the UN General Assembly currently taking place, and there was a plot supposedly foiled earlier this week by the Secret Service, which I thought it was interesting that the Secret Service is the one who foiled the plot. Like, wouldn't this be the FBI's area of expertise, or maybe the Secret Service are involved because Trump's at the UN?
Yeah, maybe the Secret Service was doing a sweep and they found something.
But apparently they found these devices, more than 300 co-located SIM servers, over 100,000 SIM cards, that they claim that someone or some group was planning on trying to take down New York City's cell phone network. They were going to essentially flood the system.
Those are pictures of the site that they found?
Well, these are pictures of the SIM cards.
Yeah, but that right there?
Yeah, that's one of the pictures.
Just racks and racks of...
That's what they provided.
Some sort of devices there.
How is someone able to set something up like this? It shows a wall of SIM boxes at the location where they were seized. Yeah, apparently they say that they were going to be used to flood the networks with 30 million text messages a minute to, take down the city's cell phone network. And
Wait, what do you call it when a hacker overloads the system? Is
think-
that what it is?
yeah, I don't know if there's another more technical term for it, but overwhelming the system more than it can handle. And what's the interesting about it is not so much that someone was trying to target New York cell phone network. It's that they were trying to do it while the UN is in session. So you've got all the world leaders descended on this one building, or most of the important world leaders there at this one location. And according to the Secret Service, somebody wanted New York City to go dark for communications right then.
Yeah, maybe it was all a ploy to draw out the coup.
Yeah, or our government is known for lying. I hope they actually have foiled a plot and they haven't just like announcing that this plot and it didn't really happen just for the sake of fear mongering, because they do fear mongering. Then the final part with this at the beginning of the week, before our thermonuclear tests, before this plot in New York City was foiled, there was a defecting Russian general who has warned of a Polish invasion plot from Putin in Russia, claiming that Russia is going to do some sort of deniable attack, some sort of attack that they can say it wasn't us, just to test NATO's resolve.
Well, haven't they already been sending drones into protected airspace?
Apparently now we have. So when this Russian general said this, well, supposedly they have. When this Russian general said this hadn't happened yet, but this week there have been several incidents in Denmark that the Danish government is calling drone attacks at their airports. From what I've seen, I haven't seen a drone actually hurt anyone or kill anyone there in Denmark or cause any actual physical damage, but they're looming over the airports and they're sort of menacing, if you would.
Right.
And so the Danish government is openly talking about, and this isn't the first time any of the countries have openly talked about this, but they're openly talking about invoking Article 4? What is it? Article 4 of NATO to involve everybody. So hopefully that's just more saber rattling too, because it's been a little over 5 years of this Ukraine war now that this been
Has
going
it been
on.
that long?
I think so. I feel like it started
Biden, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I guess it did start. So it depends on when you want to trace it back to, because you can go back further with trouble in Ukraine. But this in its current form, I guess, had been under Biden.
So wasn't there talk about an entire shift on Trump's point of view on the Ukraine war?
There has been lately.
What was it, like a month and a half ago? It was Putin and Trump had a meeting, and it was all this quick meeting and happy-go-lucky. And
they were telling us it was about to be over.
Right?
I remember that. I remember hearing.
And now Trump is saying...
He basically told Putin to go fuck himself.
Yeah, I thought he gave permission to Ukraine to take back whatever the fuck they wanted.
Yeah. No, that his statement at the UN this week was that he said Ukraine is going to take back every inch of land they've lost, and that if Russia intends on continuing the conflict, they better be sure to find the bomb shelters, which is not the kind of talk you want to hear from the person who ran on a peace platform that the other big nuclear power should start looking for their bomb shelters. So that sort of talk at the UN, leaves no one comfortable. But to me, the most important thing to watch is just what happens after the military brass meets. So one has to wonder, what has caused all this? Why the change? Because, it was not that long ago we were being told the conflict was coming to an end. I remember hearing news stories about, there were complaints that Ukraine was going to cede territory and that sort of thing. And now it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
We shall see. What's the Simpsons say? Do the Simpsons say we're going to war this year? I mean, whether or not it's this year, next year, doesn't matter when. It does seem certain, though, now that, whether like them or dislike them, Trump's talk of his anti-war rhetoric in the lead up to the election seemed to be the only hope of getting this country off the war footing we were on, of marching into war with China, with probably Iran and Russia. And now that he's gone, full bombs away here, where, we've been blowing up little speedboats in the Caribbean. Now we're testing thermonuclear weapons and all of this rhetoric. It does seem certain that it's not a matter of if, but just when. I don't see how the mess in this country, the mess internationally, I don't see how any of it can be untangled without a world war at this point. If we're not even going to try to tone down tensions,
Yeah.
I don't see how there's any way out without a war.
Somebody wants the machine to keep turning.
Yeah.
World banks.
Hopefully the people can come together enough to foil their plans to play their old game of watch the peasants fight each other. If we can do that, maybe we can avoid a war. But, and we can switch this to some more fun news and some following theories, where we were talking about thermonuclear weapons and rockets and that sort of thing. We got on the list here the father of American rocketry, a man who, if it wasn't for him, none of this would be possible. Missiles in the sky, any of that, or even our jet engines that fly us around from airport to airport. And that is Jack Parsons.
Any relation to Alan Parsons?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Alan
but that'd be
Parsons
interesting.
Project? That's a band.
Oh. That would be
I don't know
interesting
who
if they were.
I don't know who the Alan Parsons is, but
Nope. Different countries. Not
I guess
related.
Alan Parsons was.
English.
He worked on albums like the Beatles, Abbey Road, Pink Floyd,
Interesting. No dark. Pink Floyd's Dark
and
Side of
the
the
Alan
Moon.
Parsons Project. Okay, sorry, bad joke.
Well, so there's actually a show about Jack Parsons on Paramount right now.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. I actually started giving it a watch not too long ago and kind of fell off from watching it. But it's called Strange Angel. And the show does a pretty good job of depicting the most interesting part about Jack. And Jack Parsons, father of American rocketry, and he is we think of him, you think of a scientist, but you get a little bit more than a scientist with Jack, because Jack was also very big into the occult. So he was famously a follower of Alister Crowley and a believer in the religion of Thelema. And he claims to have been in communication with non-human intelligences that guided him with what to do in order to build rockets.
Alister Crowley was.
Jack Parsons.
Jack Parsons was.
Yes. Now, Alister Crowley was also claiming to be in touch with other entities as well. And I guess really to understand Jack Parsons and what his esoteric beliefs were, we should really delve it more into Alister Crowley.
Okay, explain Thelema to me.
So Thelema has a really bad reputation, but from what I've read about it and seen, it doesn't seem necessarily bad. It definitely, of course, is not going to fit with modern Christianity or traditional beliefs. So I could see why it would have been shunned. But so key aspects of Thelema is a religion founded by Alister Crowley, and it's based on a book written by him called the Book of the Law, that he claims to have written and channeled from some spiritual entity that was speaking to him from over his shoulder. He claims to have channeled what they were saying into this book. So the central tenet of Thelema is do what thou wilt. So not a call for unfettered license, but for discovering and acting according to one's true will or one's unique spiritual destiny. So, but the whole "do what thou wilt" is often interpreted by their critics as an invitation to hedonism and to doing whatever.
Right.
So, true will in Thelema refers to an individual's innate and divine life purpose, which must be uncovered through spiritual practice and introspection. So, look at that. That's not so crazy.
No.
The great work, to them, that is another key tenet. The great work is the spiritual and magical path to discover one's true will and achieve mystical union with the universal consciousness. Also doesn't sound too crazy. Then practices and symbolism. Thelemites, I'm not sure you pronounce it, but use techniques such as meditation, yoga, Hermetic Kabbalah, and ceremonial magic. I want to point out that Alister Crowley spelled his magic with a K instead of a C to differentiate it from stage magic. So the unicursal hexagram, the six-pointed star drawn in one continuous motion, is a symbol of that universal system. Then syncretic nature, Thelema draws on various mystical and esoteric traditions, including Hermeticism and Kabbalah.
Define Hermeticism and Kabbalah.
Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism, and Hermeticism...
Is that the same as the Cabal?
No.
That's what I thought that was different. Cabal is spelled with a C, and
Kabbalah
is with a Q.
Yeah, or with a K, sometimes with a K.
Okay.
Cabal is just a group of people, but Kabbalah is they have it's a whole, they have books on it and everything, and like holy books that are their key tenets and writings. But it's a whole spiritual. It's basically a religious understanding for Kabbalah of a system of how they think the world works that doesn't really match with the mainstream religions. I'm sorry, and Hermeticism is most of the esoteric societies around the world are followers of some form of Hermeticism. Hermeticism is following the teachings that are attributed to a man named Hermes Trismegistus, not known if he actually lived or not, but he's a mythical figure. He supposedly is the one who directed the building of the pyramids. He's sometimes referred to as Thoth, the Egyptian god. And he's given many names, but his teachings, he has there's a couple of key principles. I'm actually a big fan of Hermeticism and their key principles that supposedly are governing the world.
Which are?
Mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. So mentalism is the idea that everything is mind, all is mental, the universe is mind. So the all is mind, the universe is mental. The principle states that the entire universe and everything in it is a mental creation of a universal mind. Then correspondence is the principle of as above, so below. So the principle suggests that there's a fundamental unity and consistency between the different levels of reality, from the smallest to the largest, and the patterns observed on one level are reflected on the others. And so all of these principles I am a firm believer in. So I'm a big believer in as above, so below. I think the macro informs us of the micro and vice versa. So then the next principle, vibration, the idea that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This principle posits that everything in the universe is in constant motion, a continuous vibration, and that physical, mental, and spiritual realities are all expressions of this vibrational energy.
I think we both can 100% agree on that.
Well, science tells us that now.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is this was taught, 2,000 years ago, long before modern science. This was taught to people who were living in a world where it's maybe not so obvious that everything's in motion. But one thing I think about is I wonder if drugs had anything to do with them figuring this out. Because when I take shrooms, it's obvious to me that everything is in motion. There's a subtle motion, but it's almost like everything is breathing, if you will. It's like a slow movement. Then polarity is the next principle. So everything is dual. Everything has poles. This principle explains that everything exists as a duality with opposite poles that are essentially the same but different in degree. So examples are like hot and cold, love and hate, light and dark. They're two poles of one thing.
Well, yeah, one can't exist without the other.
Right. The next principle of rhythm, that everything flows out and in, everything has its tides. This principle describes the cyclical nature of everything with movements and phases, such as the pendulum of a clock, or tides, or one could even say the seasons, just a rhythm, a never-ending rhythm to things. Then the next principle, cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. This principle asserts that every event has a cause and effect, and that nothing happens by chance, only according to the law. And then the final principle of gender. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This principle states that gender is a force or quality present at all levels of existence. with masculine, active, and feminine, receptive principles balancing and interacting to create and manifest.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it's not that crazy.
Not that radical. Not that, yeah. But of course, following any esoteric beliefs is frowned upon by traditional religions, and I would imagine a long time ago, even more so. So Alister Crowley kind of blended Hermetic beliefs and mystical traditions that he got from a variety of sources to create his religion. And if you take his word for it, there was a being that came to him. And what was the name of that being? He had more than one being that he was supposedly in contact with, but the one that came to him and told him what he ended up writing in this book of the law was called Hor-Par-Krat. He said he claimed to have been visited by an entity called Aiwass, who called himself the minister of Hor-Par-Krat. I'm sorry. Which that is, it's interesting that this being comes and is like, oh, I'm a representative of this place. So Crowley claimed that he could hear the voice of the entity coming to him from behind his left shoulder, and that he felt that the entity was in the far corner of the room. Though veiled and ghostly, or rather angelic, Crowley said that Aiwass felt like a tall, dark man in his mid-30s with the face of a savage king. He said he spoke to him in English with no discernible accent, but was dressed in Persian or Assyrian style. So Crowley famously was also in contact with another being that he called Lam, Lam. And listeners, if you guys want to Google Lam, and I guess you would have to Google Alister Crowley and Lam, and you can see an image that Alister Crowley drew of this being he claimed to be in contact with. People have often said it looks like a gray alien.
Yeah, kind of, except his eyes are a little
beady,
distinct.
I wonder if he was a minister too.
I think he looks like a beady-headed bureaucrat. Yeah.
That's funny. Maybe he's so. And there's people usually interpret it in one or two ways with Alister Crowley and this Lamb being that he claimed to have been in contact with. Some people think, oh, it's a gray alien. He was in contact with a gray alien. Other people think he was in contact with a demonic force. So the key thing is Alister Crowley, when he studied first with the occultic and hermetic order of the Golden Dawn in England, where he claimed to have learned ceremonial magic. And then he left there and he went and studied in Mexico, Morocco, India, and China, studied practices like yoga and occult traditions in all of those places. So he was really big into just studying occult and mystical traditions. When studied Islamic mysticism, and then after all of that, that's when these beings start appearing to him, and he writes his book of the law. And they were also really big into Egyptian deities, so they would hold ceremonies and things to try and bring about different deities. So here's a name many people in today's world are familiar with, and it was the magical name of Alister Crowley. But Baphomet, that was the name that he adopted as his magical name.
Well, wasn't Baphomet an embodiment of Satan?
That's how many people interpret it.
Or is that's just something that we were programmed to believe?
Well, that's how some people interpret it, as an embodiment of Satan. Now, let's see. It is Baphomet, a symbolic, this according to Google, enigmatic goat-headed figure associated with occultism, originally appearing in historical accusations against the Knights Templar in the 4th century because they found a Baphomet statue hidden in a Knights Templar building. The familiar winged hermaphroditic image of the Sabbatic goat was created by the 19th century occultist Eliphas Levi, who intended to symbolize the union of opposites and balance. Today, Baphomet is a potent symbol for various occult, spiritual, and countercultural groups, including modern Satanism, representing concepts like universal balance, knowledge, and rebellion against religious authority. So, and Baphomet itself, the drawing, or how it's usually depicted, embodies a lot of those Hermetic principles. So the way Baphomet is shown with 2 fingers pointing up on one hand and 2 fingers pointing down on one hand, that is to symbolize as above, so below.
Yeah, or balance, or rhythm, or most of it, really.
Yeah.
Duality.
Yep. All meant to be in this one image, you know? If they were just trying to convey these simple principles, like what we read through for those principles of Hermeticism, you could come up with something that looks less demonic. And people people might like it a little bit better instead of this goat-headed, winged, creature.
I feel like the goat has taken a bad rap over the years for that reason, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think goat in other cultures is a highly regarded creature. I mean, in Africa and other third world countries, the goat is their primary food source.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily bad, but I think with Christianity, there's the old connotation with sacrifice, with animal sacrifice.
Oh, yeah.
So when people see the
pagan
goat,
sacrifice.
and that's, of course, for Christian theology, sacrifice is no more. We're not supposed to do animal sacrifice. So when I think more traditionalist people see anything like that, they kind of just balk at it. I mean, funny story though. I've got a buddy who's a little younger than me, who was in the military. He's out now. He actually got injured, and so he got honorable discharge and all that. But he told me a story about while he was training, some of his buddies, and also in the military, higher up, invited him to kind of a little camp retreat. And you got a whole bunch of military guys out in the woods on a camp trip together, and they sacrificed a goat. And this was something that not like he did not describe it as something that they thought up on the spot. Because, I mean, who has a goat sitting around spare? This was something that they went out there to do. They sacrificed a goat in a ritualistic fashion, and it was, he described it as, the older guys in there, this was what they did. He was invited in to join them and join their group.
This was a military?
U.S. military.
Faction?
U.S. military. And so just him telling me that story, I thought it was very intriguing because I was like, okay, we have groups in our military that have their own little private clubs where some of them are sacrificing goats.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah. Maybe you got to the point that you've seen so much shit in your life that maybe that's something more than symbolic to you anymore.
When they were doing it for protection, for them going into combat areas. So they were doing it to ask for protection and sacrificing.
I've always believed that if you believe in it, it's much more powerful, that it can actually be true if you truly believe in it.
I would agree with you.
It's empowering.
Well, and that's isn't that sort of what the more new age, what do you call it? Manifesting? That's the word.
Yeah.
Isn't that what manifesting teaches? That somehow
if you truly believe in it, then it becomes reality.
And I think from some of the stuff we've learned with quantum physics also seems to support the idea that whatever it is our conscious mind is thinking and believing is influencing reality.
Yeah.
So maybe sometimes I've often thought about, and this is sort of what Alister Crowley thought with their practice of magic or their ceremonial magic. They didn't necessarily believe that what they were doing was going to be magic like Gandalf and Lord of the Rings. It was more of a trick to program your consciousness, a trick to challenge your consciousness.
Yeah.
So to go through these rituals to make you believe it more, or to make you believe in whatever it is that you're trying to pursue more. And when looking at ritual in that sort of way, and coming to it from the point of view of believing our consciousness has a whole lot more power than is traditionally taught, then that ritual takes on a whole nother meaning, an entire other purpose. And it's not so much that, you're communicating with a devil or anything. It's you're opening up your own potential. So we've got this article here from The Collector, which pretty much describes the principles of the Lema. So in their principle teaching of do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. So Crowley's detractors said that was a way of justifying his decadent lifestyle and hedonism. But according to the Lema's practicers, that's not what it means. It means that a person should ignore trivial things and follow their true destiny. So this idea has its roots in Christian philosophy, actually, of Augustine of Hippo saying, love and do what thou wilt. Another core principle for them was every man and every woman is a star, referencing Plato saying that we're made up the same thing of stars. Therefore, meant to be a reminder that we're more than our own physical bodies. They also believed, I guess people pointed at them like they were crazy for thinking it, but as far as I understand, Catholics teach it too. They also believe that everybody had their own, you have your own non-human higher being assigned to you, your own basically personal guardian angel that you could consult, and they would help you advance on your life's mission. But the Lemites believe that guardian angel is actually you. It's not a guardian angel sent to just assigned to you to watch you your whole life. It's you. It's your higher self interacting with you.
That higher self sent us here to embody and learn.
Yeah,
to experience all the emotions and all of the things.
To complete whatever, well, they think everybody's purpose is the pursuit of whatever your great work is. And so everyone would have an individual great work that is your one purpose here in life to complete. And that your higher self, it would be essentially like, I guess to give it an example that you can picture, it's like if I'm playing World of Warcraft, and I am the character, but I can also do other little things to manipulate the world that my character is playing. Is my character aware that the manipulation of the world around him that he's seeing is actually the person behind the keyboard, which is him? You know, they sort of see it like that it's like that you're in more than one spot at once, that you are that higher self watching you, and you are you at the same time.
I kind of like that.
I know. And it was like the more and when I first heard about Alister Crowley, I thought this man was just into just straight up devil worship. And the more I read about what it is that he was teaching and believing, I'm like, well, it sounds rather empowering, not so dark, you know? So, and then their cosmology is, I guess, where it gets a little weird. I could see where people might have been weirded out by that just because it's, you know, that's when they start talking about gods and that sort of thing. But again, I think the purpose for them was providing a framework for their consciousness to operate to achieve the things that they want, to encourage belief in certain things. So they believed in, they basically took the Egyptian gods and renamed them, and they had set rituals that they would do to these different gods. Now, one of their famous rituals, the Babylon working ritual, is supposedly the ritual that Jack Parsons did before he perfected the rocket. And it was only through Babylon working that they were able to get the rocket.
Okay. Now we must know what that ritual is.
So, and I can't leave out, after saying all those nice things about Alister Crowley. Alister Crowley was also a believer in sex magic, which there's a lot of accusations that our leaders today are big believers in sex magic. So, and
well, we got to talk about that now.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I mean, for their whole sex magic thing, it was pretty much, according to them, the same thing. It's a tool for discovering one's true will. So traditional magical practice, and that's magic with a K for Alister Crowley, is not essential to the practice of Thelema, as Crowley considered all intentional acts as magic. So that's an important connotation too. Anything done with intention, according to them, that's magic. And that kind of fits with that whole understanding of where our consciousness is helping to paint reality. So if we're doing something with intention, with the intention of our conscious and the intention of our physical action, then that's what they see it as, well, now you're inserting magic into the world. So Crowley suggested that magic was a valuable tool for discovering one's true will. He also suggested that before engaging in profound magic, practitioners should prepare themselves through spiritual practices such as yoga and meditation. The equinox, which was the periodical for Thelema, does share guidance on ritual magical practices, largely inspired by Crowley's time in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. One of the core elements was the Gnostic Mass, which I have to look that up, was a magical ritual based on the Mass and the Greek Orthodox Church. Crowley thought that personal experimentation with magic as a pathway of self-discovery was more important. Reflecting his own spiritual journey, he encouraged followers of the Lema to treat magical experimentation like scientific experimentation. To test hypotheses, he suggested skepticism in evaluating the results, especially for students who are new to magic. He wanted followers to keep journals recording the outcomes of their experiments and firmly believed that they would create a scientific vocabulary for the discussion of magic. So for those who are magic practitioners, the ultimate goal is to cross the abyss and communicate directly with your demon, your higher self, so that you can truly embody your true will. To do this, you must relinquish all ego, but people who try to do this without being properly prepared can become what they call a black brother. And those people slowly, as they describe that as someone who is slowly disintegrating from the inside, and they then prey on others.
And demon is actually spelled daemon.
D-A-E-M-O-N. Yeah.
Which is more of just your spiritual presence.
Yeah.
Not demon.
Yeah. My misspoke on that one. So, Crowley also famously a strong believer in sex magic. Most of his bad reputation came from the fact that he was open about his adultery and his homosexuality, which was illegal at the time. But sex magic is not a cornerstone of the Lema. What's important is engaging in practices that help you throw off socially instilled inhibitions that block a person from seeing and understanding their true will. For Crowley, personally, this was sex magic.
So sex magic was just sex with intention?
And sometimes intentionally doing things that one is uncomfortable with.
Okay.
Because they were trying to break down these. The idea is that we've been programmed by society. That's how they saw it. That from the moment we come into the world, we're programmed in these certain parameters to operate within their Overton window, and they're trying to break their own consciousness out of that Overton window. So they got to break down their uncomfortableness toward different things so they can discover, or this is what they say they're seeking, so they can discover what it is that their true will is after. And if they have all these other things clouding their consciousness, then they can't truly evaluate what is their true will, what is their great work in life.
Yeah, get rid of all your other desires.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can focus on the real shit.
And like you were saying earlier, I was like, there's so much about what we think and believe when it comes to all these things. We've kind of been conditioned to think, like the minute if you show me someone draw a 5-pointed star in a continuous motion with a circle around it and start saying anything that I don't understand, my mind immediately goes to bad. What they're doing, evil, But why is it that I think that? And I've also always thought that when it comes to stuff like that, when it comes to things that we're told are from other dimensions, how come the only people who seem to know how to deal with them, the Catholic Church who has these exorcists, are the same people who tell everyone else not to look into anything like that? Don't they have to study it in order to be able to claim any knowledge on this?
Supposedly.
They're the expert. So they're the ones communing with these things all the time, and they insist that we must not.
Yeah. Vatican's a completely different topic.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
But yeah, Alister Crowley is certainly a very, very interesting man. He's famously associated with the London Lodge of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. But he and his followers rubbed shoulders with royalty, with high society circles. And in today's world, he is looked at as the father of the modern esoteric traditions. So most people into the occult today, one way or another, are very likely following the teachings of Alister Crowley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Jack Parsons, the father of American rocketry, was one of those followers. He was a follower who actually got to meet Alister Crowley.
Before we get any further into that, let's talk about one of our sponsors, or a couple of our sponsors. Good Feels. What do you think about Good Feels?
I think they're pretty tasty. And so Good Feels, they are the CBD infused seltzer that offers
Cannabis as well.
cannabis and CBD infused. Yeah, you get either or. You can get either one.
They also have extracts that you can put into any drink instead of just getting a seltzer.
To add CBD to any drink you got with you. And yeah, we're actually trying them today. So I can officially say they are tasty.
For Good Feels, you get a 20% off discount with our coupon code, which should be popping up on your screen right now. The coupon code is DTL2025. Also, your purchase gives us a 15% commission of your total cart. We would really appreciate it if you guys would help contribute to us not having to ever work again.
Yeah.
But we're not quite there yet.
So yeah, check out Good Feels. They look great. They taste great. It's perfect for whether you're relaxing at home, going to social gatherings. If you want to have something and not grab an alcoholic drink and still mingle with everybody, get you a CBD or THC infused seltzer and relax and enjoy.
Also, we have Shimmerwood beverages. They are just CBD infused seltzers. For calm and balance. They're crafted without sugars or caffeine or any artificial ingredients, designed for relaxation without any intoxicating effects. I definitely believe in CBD and the health benefits that are contained within that coupon code. Same coupon code, DTL2025. Gets you 30% off, and we also get a 15% commission from anything that you purchase. Please support our podcast. We would very much appreciate it. Also, it comes in Raz Lime, Chai Cherry, Ginger Orange, and Just Hemp. I've tried them all. They're very tasty, especially if you like seltzers. You can also mix in. I did a little concoction today. We muddled some cucumber and some mint and a little pineapple juice splashed on top. It's quite tasty. We can't put the drink down. We're making lots of noise on our podcast today. So give it a look. See what you think.
Don't forget to use that discount code
DTL2025.
And we've got one more product. You guys heard all the news we told you about how war might be on the horizon. So emergencies can strike at any time, from power outages to natural disasters. It's crucial for families to prepare and plan in advance. That's why we have discount codes for you with Prep Starts Now. You can use our same discount code, DTR2025, to get 20% off at Prep Starts Now, where they offer essential emergency supplies and products. Whether you're preparing for a disaster of global proportions or just preparing for a camping trip and want to make sure you're ready to handle any cuts or any unforeseen circumstances that comes up, Prep Starts Now has supplies for you.
Yeah, we talk about the end of the world enough. We might as well see if you guys can get prepared.
Yeah.
Again, 15% off, 15% commission.
We all have to bring something for the end of the world, guys.
Yeah.
You don't have to bring much, just bring something. So
leave the bottle of booze for the other guy.
Right. All right, so back to Alister Crowley. And, I was saying he, founded the religion Thelema. Jack Parsons, father of modern American rocketry, was a believer in this religion. And prior to perfecting the rocket, they did this big ritual called Babylon working. And I want to differentiate here that Babylon is not spelled like the ancient city. It's Bablon. They believed that Babylon was it's a goddess in their religion, an Egyptian goddess, but pretty much from what I understand, like an embodiment of just, here we go. The Babylon, the goddess of pleasure, also known as the virgin whore, and Therion, the beast that Babylon rides, who represents the wild animal within man as a force of nature. In addition, each person's true will manifests as a daemon, which is a kind of tutelary deity or personal guardian angel, as if everyone had their own personal god. So this ritual, pretty interesting how it went. Babylon working was a series of sex magic rituals performed by occultist Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard. You guys might recognize that name.
Yeah.
He's the father of Scientology. He was also a big follower of Alister Crowley. So they did these series of rituals in 1946 to bring about the manifestation of the Thelemic goddess Babylon. So Inspired by Alister Crowley's writings, the ritual involved invoking the goddess, with Hubbard acting as a scribe and Parsons using magical tablets and masturbation to fertilize a magical child. So the ritual culminated in the appearance of Marjorie Cameron, an artist that Parsons believed to be the embodiment of Babylon. So their goal was to physically incarnate the divine feminine figure of Babylon. Now, shortly after they did this and Marjorie Cameron shows up, there's a bunch of other events that start happening back then that made them believe that they were successful. So it was right around the same time in the late 40s that there was the big UFO craze that started sweeping the nation. UFOs started being seen everywhere. There was the big event where there were all the UFOs over Washington, D.C. that gets often brushed under the rug, but that was probably the most significant UFO event in U.S. history, where there were UFOs over the Capitol and over the Capitol building. And then, right after, there were sightings all over the country that kind of led up to that. Then they were over the Capitol, and then it stopped. And it always led me to think that there was some communication that happened there when they went to the Capitol.
Yeah.
And what a ritual. You got L. Ron Hubbard standing there writing it all down while Jack Parsons masturbates over some tablets.
How many people have done this by accident?
The ritual?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that, and it was because of all the UFO sightings that they felt like, hey, maybe we were successful. And they were under the impression also that these other entities that they were contacting with their rituals and that sort of thing were guiding them to complete the rocket. And they very much like the father of Russian rocketry, believed that there were other intelligences, non-humans, who had an interest in us reaching the stars. So,
yeah.
But, it's hard to, without delving too much into their theology, it's hard for me to say that did they think they were talking to non-human entities, or did they think they were talking to their higher self? Because, people interpret it as, oh, they went out and did all these rituals and things like that. They were communing with demons. But if you read what they were saying about their writings, it seems like they think that the guidance they're getting is from themselves.
Yeah, from their higher selves.
Yeah. And that's a totally different understanding of versus being in contact with something else. Now, we'll say Alister Crowley, when he wrote his book of the law, he did not believe he was in contact with his higher self. He specifically said he believed that being that directed him to write it, the one who was a minister from whatever crazy world that was, it said, he said that being had more knowledge than him and therefore could not be him. That was his thinking.
Well, I thought that was the whole point of higher self, is the greater knowledge.
Right. Well, but I just know for that one, he specifically said he did not believe it was him. And that was probably, I'm sure that was in response to people trying to ask, well, did you just make up this book? And, like the father of any religion, it can't come from you. It's got to be divinely inspired.
Right.
Well, even like Mormonism, it didn't come from Joseph Smith. An angel gave him a magic rock to look through, and then
magic underwear
to read tablets. Yeah. So with Russian, the father of Russian rocketry is also the father of Russian cosmism, which is this philosophical belief that it is our destiny, our cosmic destiny, to explore space, to leave this planet and explore space. And they believe that there were other higher intelligences that are also working toward that end, that they are constantly in communication with us and trying to work toward that end, that most of the time we are just blind to the communication of how they try to reach us.
Okay, how are they trying to reach us?
So through patterns, through fractals, through all sorts of visual things we see. So basically they took the belief that we've all been so conditioned by society, by institutions and everything to think and see things in one certain way that our minds don't even show us the possibilities when we see different things. Basically, the whole idea that the mind can only can only entertain or see something that it is willing to believe is possible.
Right. We've all been programmed to.
Like, have you ever heard the famous story about how the Native Americans, when Columbus's ships were arriving, they couldn't see the ships until this is like pulled from, there's some movie that was talking about manifestation and quantum physics and all that. And they were saying that those natives couldn't see the ships until the shaman did his little magic ritual with them to get them to see it. So supposedly it was the shaman or the village elders and holy man mystic that saw the ships first. Everybody else saw funny looking clouds. And then the shaman gathers everybody up, does his ritualistic movements, whatever he did around them. Maybe he did a little dance around them, pokes them in the head and tells them all, don't you see the ships coming? Or I'm sure he didn't describe it as ships, but described it as there's people coming. Those are vessels. And then after the shaman does all that and tells them, then the people can see it. Now, I don't know if that story is true or not, but I know the story is trying to, the point of it was trying to display that oftentimes our minds will trick us. If our minds, our eyes are taking in so much light and everything else, and most of which we can't even see or comprehend. So our brain just gives us a picture of things that make sense.
Yeah, I think our brain kind of fills in the blanks, and we'll see what we're looking for, and everything else just kind of gets backfilled.
So in that sense, sometimes expectation, and according to these guys' philosophy, expectation can be the enemy of truth. Our preconceived notions, or any sort of expectation, would be the enemy of finding truth in any of those things.
Yeah, right. Well, I think expectations are just premeditated resentments in our modern day life, but absolutely expectations will cloud anybody's judgment.
Yeah. And there's a lot of speculation that even today, with our modern space program and rocket program, that there is still a lot of esoteric tradition happening behind the scene. So almost every single NASA mission has, some sort of reference to ancient gods or ancient pagan gods or mythologies and that sort of thing.
Like
they do a lot
Apollo.
like that. Apollo. Yeah. Well, and more than that, not just the name, they often put stuff on the rocket that they're sending into space that you have to wonder, who's it a message for? And they say, well, it's a message for our sponsors.
No.
There's sponsors out there.
Yeah. I mean, it couldn't hurt, even if it is mumbo jumbo.
Right. Well, and what's going along with it is that the occultists, like Jack Parsons and these others who are coming up with the technology, they don't think that they just got the technology just from studying and writing on paper. They think the ritualistic nature of what they were doing assisted in it. So therefore, when they're sending stuff up, they're still continuing the ritual, And it's actually logical, If I did XYZ ritual in order for me to figure out how to make a rocket, and I think that whatever told me to do that is telling me that I need to continue to follow steps that are not just scientific, then I would do exactly that. If something communicated to me to tell me how to make a rocket, I would keep listening probably.
Yeah. Well, why haven't we done this to do non-propulsive lift, like the spinning mercury in a piece of metal that creates anti-gravity? Why haven't we done this to figure out anti-gravity yet?
I would suspect we probably have somewhere, right? So like the famous Nazi bell, we talked about bells and everything before, but Die Glock seemed to be doing just that, of using mercury and trying to create a...
that was the Antarctic base, wasn't it? That they were trying to... That we talked about in the last episode. They were trying to...
Well, they set up shop down there, but Die Glock, apparently they were supposedly working on maybe in Germany, but it was never found. They found the facility, but they never found... there's only drawings of it, their big bell, which, from what we talked about in previous episodes, I've always thought about Die Glock and looked at it like, oh, it's a flying saucer. Of course it's a flying saucer. But after what we talked about in last week's episode about the bells, I then look at Die Glock a lot differently.
It's an interdimensional.
It's a big bell
vessel.
For sure,
yeah.
But it's like, is it a vessel to travel or is it a machine? Because at the same time they were making Die Glock, the whole world was supposedly in an arms race The Nazis rejected nuclear weapons because they said that's Jewish science. They didn't want nothing to do with it. I think that's really informative, though. Because it's not like they rejected Jewish scientists and didn't think they were smart. They employed a lot of Jewish scientists. So if you know that your enemies are working on this super weapon, for you to reject the super weapon, you got to have a weapon, right?
Yeah.
Or you got to be pretty close to your own super weapon.
You got to have something that's more powerful.
Otherwise, you don't just dismiss it.
Yeah.
So, and Die Glock is their mystery weapon they were supposedly working on that was never found. Maybe it is a flying saucer. Maybe it's a bill.
I think it was found.
Think so? Think the Americans got it?
Yeah. That's why they collected all the bells, including Die Glock. So I guess tying back into Antarctica and the Nazis, there was a large hole in Antarctica. And they got to the bottom of the hole. There was supposedly a pyramid.
Really?
I believe so.
Well, I remember hearing some talk before a long time ago about people claiming, and I'm pretty sure I heard that about the North Pole, though, that like when Admiral Byrd flew to the North Pole, he found a giant hole that pretty much he was able to just about fly into, and described like seeing more greenery and like almost like a world within.
There's supposedly this post is showing a gigantic pyramid, larger than any ones that we've currently encountered.
And I mean, there's the anybody who's been looking at Antarctica online for some time has seen the pyramid that is supposedly visible from Google Maps. That's a giant one. And I mean, I have a hard time believing that countries spend all this money just to study cold weather conditions at the bottom of the world where there's
I definitely think there's more to it. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. And it's just like, well, what is that more? Are we down there messing with pyramids? Is it the edge of the world? What's going on there? I desperately want to believe that the people who run the world are actually good guys on the side of humanity, and then maybe there's some outside threat that they're not telling us about that they're secretly preparing to fight. You know, speaking of under the ice and that sort of thing, Tim Burchard, representative by the Congress, he was recently quoted talking about the hearings they've gotten and said that there are aliens in deep water areas on Earth. So what if it's not aliens? What if it's the Nazis? What if it's Antarctica and they're deep under the ocean? Have you ever seen the movie? It's a more recent movie. It's kind of action. It's a little bit funny, but it's where the Nazis are like on the moon and they launch an invasion on Earth. They like been hiding up there, and it's like Nazis with dinosaurs. Let's see.
That's pretty awesome.
It was pretty hilarious. Iron Sky, I highly recommend. It is hilarious. And I'm pretty sure it's got Halle Berry in it.
Iron Sky
got an old decrepit Hitler and Halle Berry trying to save the world. The Nazis have like set up a moon base, and they've got some project. They're going to try to like make everybody Aryan. But one thing I thought about after hearing Tim Burchard say that, there's a few of these deep water sites that all the UFO activity happens at, and he went further saying that he doesn't think the UFOs are coming from off world. He thinks maybe they came here a long time ago, but that they've set up shop and that they're under the ocean. And I kind of combined that story or that claim from him with our thermonuclear tests under the water, and now all the brass is meeting. It's like, so I looked up when's the last time we did an underwater thermonuclear test. It was the 60s.
Wasn't it the Bikini Islands?
I believe so. But it was the 60s. We haven't, and there's a treaty to stop it after that. But what if we've just been preparing for a battle with non-humans? So that would be like if we have to have World War III apocalyptic scenarios. If I could pick my favorite scenario where our leaders are actually on our side is one where there's like aliens have secretly been in charge of the world for a long time, and human leaders have been slowly planning a rebellion, and now they're going to try to throw off the shackles of those who currently run the world. But that would be too good to be true, to think that it's all been this long plan to save us all.
The surface dwellers against the subterranean,
under the ocean,
or aquatic.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? If that's what like, Because, I've brought it up in previous episodes. There's the long-running conspiracy that they're going to fake an alien invasion. And I feel like, but what if they're not going to fake it? What if it's not faking an alien invasion, it's a human rebellion? And they sell it to us like an alien invasion.
I don't know.
But according to Representative Tim Burchard, and this is what he's been told, what he says he's been told by admirals in their hearings and where Congress has told information. We've observed football field-sized craft moving at hundreds of miles an hour underwater. Like, well, that's impressive. And this is anything with those kind of capabilities would blow us out of the water.
Any size craft at 100 miles an hour.
Underwater?
Underwater.
Yeah. And then, we know from the things we've seen, they can not only go that fast underwater, they can go that fast above the water. So.
Oh, yeah. In the videos, it showed that one of the ones that was recently, I think the last couple of years, the Air Force had been tracking this object, and it was darting around, and then it all of a sudden goes underwater for a couple of miles, and then pops back out, and then gone. Like it was toying with us. Like it was investigating us. And then, poof, see ya. See you later.
So what do you combine that with the little buzz that people have said, oh, the Sumerian gods are returning. Do you think if we are to see aliens in our lifetime, or if we are to see non-human intelligence in our lifetime, do you think it's going to come from the skies or under the ocean? Or actually, I should phrase it differently. Do you think it's going to come from here? Will they just reveal themselves and already be present here? Or will they be arriving?
I definitely think they're already here. But I think there's multiple races, and I also think that we won't know about the others until another one from outward worldly shows up to stir the fucking pot.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, should we look at our predictions?
Hell yeah.
So we had our equinox surge in occult interests as rare planetary alignment occurs on September 23rd. I think we fell for the surge in occult interests with our episode today.
Yeah.
Focused on the occult. I mean, the Pope making his statement, I don't think we've got nothing really new about the Pope other than war talk.
No, The Simpsons predicted that Trump was going to make a statement about an alien expose of some sort.
Well, we might just get that with this whole Pentagon calling all the generals and admirals all in one location. We might just get a big alien announcement soon.
And also, Trump's supposed to have a heart attack in 4 days, according to The Simpsons.
Ooh. I hope we don't get that. I still believe that after the Charlie Kirk thing, I still feel like another event is coming for the country, that we're not out of the water yet.
Yeah.
But I hope it's not that event, because I don't know that the country can handle that event. Like, I don't think there's a way that Trump can die that people aren't going to feel like that he could die in office, that people would not believe foul play had happened.
Yeah.
Like, no matter, even if it's a heart attack, people will say foul play, if he goes in office. So,
speaking of foul play, I saw some more on Charlie Kirk that somebody was theorizing that the reason that they were doing construction on that pad so quickly is that there was a structure that was built underneath. There's a trap door or something.
There's a tunnel system. Yeah, there's a whole tunnel system underneath, and they paved over it immediately. It's crazy. I don't know what to think with the Charlie Kirk thing anymore. I feel only certain that we're being lied to by our government, but why, I have no idea. Apparently the feds are pressuring the authorities in Utah to close the investigation, to wrap it up. You got a lone gunman. It's done. Close the book.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of buzz online about what we're being told is the sign language sign for "I love you" that Erica Kirk made on stage.
Oh yeah, so
next to the president.
Tell us about what happened there.
So it was super odd.
The memorial service.
Yeah,
right?
she's at the memorial service in her beautiful white dress. Not many people would wear white to an event like that.
Who wears white to a funeral? Your husband's funeral.
Right. Well, she's taken over the organization, and it struck a lot of people as odd. But she's going up on stage, and she's being comforted by President Trump. Trump's hugging her, and then Trump sort of taps her, and she looks up at him, and he points up with one finger, so he's clearly signaling her. And then she then makes what is either the Hail Satan sign, what did you say it might be?
Oh, the shocker.
Either the Hail Satan.
I want to say it's the shocker, but if it's the two outside fingers, it's like the horns.
Two outside, yeah. Well, and the thumb was extended too. So they were saying, oh, she was doing sign language, I love you. But it still just strikes me as odd. I find it hard to believe that, because it's obvious that Trump signaled her to do it. He pointed up. So it's hard for me to believe that she went up to hug President Trump, and Trump says, do sign language, I love you. It's just hard for me to see him saying that.
I don't know. It's so weird.
And he had a line in his speech, too, that there's been a lot of Masonic references. There was, the FBI, they searched for 33 hours for the killer, 33 hours. And Kash Patel even pointing out, he said, we found him in less than 36 hours, 33 to be precise. And then beyond that, when Trump was speaking at the memorial, talking about Charlie, he could have said a lot of things. He could have said, Charlie was a great leader. Charlie was a great father. Charlie was a patriot. There's a lot of things you could have said. But he said, Charlie was a master builder. And there's a pause. And he goes, a master builder of people. But that just struck me as odd, because master builder, these are ranks within Freemasonry.
Yeah, the master builder is definitely a rank in Freemasonry. Why is there all of this alluding to Freemasonry?
Why are they making it so obvious?
Are they trying to pin it on the Masons?
I don't know. It's obvious that it's a cover-up. I don't know why they would try to pin it on the Masons, because our entire government's Masons.
And maybe I'm being rude in assuming that the Masons are vulnerable to the point that something could be pinned on them, and they don't already control most of what's going on.
I don't think they're vulnerable. But you never know.
I don't think so. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think so either.
But I don't know what group is in conflict with the Masons. There's got to be.
There's a duality. There's always a duality.
So there's some other group that is in conflict with the Masons, and sometimes I wonder if even amongst the Masons is the conflict amongst themselves. Because there's different branches. There's Scottish Rite, Freemasonry. There's all these different branches. So maybe they're in conflict with one another. But there's got to be a duality. They can't exist without some opposing force.
Yeah.
And there's a book out there that talks about how, like, the history of America is really, it can't be really understood without understanding these secret societies moving in the background.
So I saw this video the other day too, which might lead into a topic for another episode, but at Trump's inauguration, Barron Trump leans in and says something to Biden into his ear, and the look on Biden's face.
Oh, he looked so startled. I remember that.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck did he just say?
Yeah, no, I remember that among conservative circles, that circulated a lot, and everybody was speculating that he was basically threatening Joe Biden, saying that, we're going to go after you like you did my father.
Yeah, potentially. I think some of the theories behind all of that is, beyond that really is that there's books out there that show like Barron Trump, the last president of the United States.
Yeah, from the 1800s.
That's kind of scary thought. Like, last president means that
no more United States.
No more United States, or
no more republic, at least.
The government falls, or some huge paradigm shift.
Oh, one more crazy thing for the Kirks before I forget. Can't not mention this. So Erica Kirk, there's speculation now that she's going to go and start another ministry. Erica Kirk had a ministry before she met Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk married into money, so her family is a lot wealthier than his was. And Erica Kirk has connections to Donald Trump before Charlie Kirk. So she was in his Miss USA pageant. She was
encouraged to go work she Charlie Kirk, and then
she was when she was
ended up on a date instead.
She was in his Miss USA pageants. So just like this whole Trump Epstein connections, everybody been talking about the one thing Trump and Epstein, one thing that Trump and Epstein have in common is they both made a career procuring young women with Trump's pageants.
Yeah.
He's in the world of the elite. You got all these young women coming through there, beautiful young women coming through all the pageants, Miss USA, Miss Arizona, all those different states. I think there's a whole lot of potential for abuse there. probably was some abuse going on. But Erica Kirk used to have a ministry. They used to operate internationally. They were once operating in Romania till they were kicked out of Romania.
Right.
For accusations of child trafficking and human trafficking. So there's nothing but speculation around them right now. Nothing's been like proven that they've done anything wrong. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm implying that there's more there than speculation. But the speculation don't look good.
No. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. Send us a message on denvertheorylab@gmail.com. Or you can make donations at PayPal, Denver Theory Lab. Send us any comments, suggestions, or ideas. Till next time.